Well, good evening, folks. Happy to see that you're all here. People are coming into the room. I'm trying to get the screen set up. Hope you guys are having a good week. We have lots and lots to talk about, and we're going to focus on the guy that is really on the thumbnail for the video. To tell you the truth, plenty of people talking about moves that have to be made. There's plenty to do. So we're going to talk about Brett Veach and see how we think it should go with him. I'm going to try to make the chat bigger tonight. That is my goal so I can see more of your comments. Just want to get started tonight before we get to the question section and say, I think that they've been a little cagey. We heard Brett Veach talk a little bit, and it's really interesting to hear some of the comments that he made about certain players in particular, referring to Eric Berry as we a lot. Hey, folks, how are you? Everybody coming in? Alec, Jonathan, Justin, Hog Farmer, see you guys were in here chatting away. I appreciate that. Glad to see you all. Talking about Brett Veach's conference call. Thanks to Chiefs PR, they got me the audio from it. A very interesting listen, to tell you the truth, about how he feels about what's going on with those. And Eric Berry in particular is one that I feel like it might be subliminal. It might be me reading too much into it. But when the GM refers to Eric getting a fourth and fifth opinion and getting a plan together for what he's going to do about his injury, and he calls it we, I think that's a good sign. Hi, folks. I see y'all coming in. Curtis, Rev Dog, appreciate it. Daryl, Tom, Lee, hey, how's Hawaii? I hope you're doing that. Nick, thanks for reminding me. Tonight, since I'm feeling better, no more tea. Amber Ale from Bell's. This is a good one if you like a nice medium semi-malty, but still got a little bit of crispness to it. So maybe check that one out. I think the Berry thing is going to work itself out in time. And clearly he is a guy that just has such an impact. Mark Doyle, nice to see you from Ireland. I love that. I am planning to be on the Emerald Isle here in the next few years, planning a big family vacation. So if there is a Chiefs contingent on the island, I need to know about it. If you would hook me up with that, I would appreciate it. Going forward, I think that's one that's going to be Eric's going to take care of himself. And it seems like they're on the same page. It seems like they're working still as a group in his best interest and in the team's best interest. So that's good to see. Justin, how are you? Troy, appreciate it. Getting questions already. Chris, hold on a second, and I'll get to those in a little bit. It's going to be one of those I don't think we're going to hear for a while. Especially, it makes sense to me why we haven't heard about an announcement that he's had surgery. Because if he's trying to get extra opinions to figure out what's going on, it makes sense that you're going to explore all those options. And in fact, we just talked about that a little bit on the podcast. We finished checking it out and recording the podcast a little while ago. So make sure you check out Locked On Chiefs. If you're not a podcast listener already, it'll be in the show notes and you can check that out. It's totally free and easy to get to. Thank you all for saying hello. Cape Girardeau, I see you're in the house. Another Hawaiian. Nice to see you. So that brings us to the other of the big three, and that's what could happen tomorrow, and that's Dee Ford. I think it's a pretty no-brainer. You've heard me talk about it on the podcast, and I think on here as well. Tagging Ford is something that I think is good for this team because he does have such an explosive first step. And if they are looking to get that Leo position, that classic 4-3 front that Spagnuolo's run before, if they're looking to get a Leo-type guy that is a speed rusher, they call him a rush end. That's something that Ford's built for. He played outside in college, that far out. Jacob, thanks for the donation. Appreciate the chat. I will keep doing it if you guys keep showing up. So, hey. But it goes back to what Ford did in college. And we all talked about the transition that Ford had to make. Very similar to the transition that Speaks has to make or had to make trying to get into the Sutton defense. Now it kind of lets both of them off the hook a little bit because it's a little more natural. That goes for Tano Passanio as well. Another guy that rushed from a wide 9 in college and was successful there, albeit at a different level of college competition, but a guy that's used to it. And so maybe that makes things a little bit easier. Maybe it lets them stop thinking as much. I think that's the big thing about the Sutton defense that they really tripped everybody up was how much thinking and how much their assignments didn't make instinctual sense. Just from what I saw and things that I've heard. So I think the Ford is one of those things that if he can feel more comfortable, it's worth putting that tag on him for that dollar amount. If they feel like it's such a good fit that they want him for the foreseeable future, well, giving him a contract, although it's not what I would do, but if they feel that he's right for the future, giving him a contract gives you an opportunity to keep that cap number really low for this coming 2019. And that can be really, really important when it comes to trying to get a player like Landon Collins or a player like Earl Thomas or any number of other free agents, because we can talk about the safety market all we want at the draft level, but it's a gamble. I don't see anybody that's a standout there. Anybody that I think can come in and be the free safety and just patrol the back end and let everybody else attack. I just don't see it in this class. And I haven't gone through a ton of tape on everybody. I've looked at some of the big ones. Thompson, Adderley, and I'm not deep into the film either. I haven't made my final decisions or anything like that. I'm just starting at this process. And as you guys know, I'll watch film on pretty much all the prospects that I feel can fit, from athleticism, from processing, especially on the back end, from what we've seen from the safeties over the years. And so that is just another piece of the puzzle. But getting those guys might be better in free agency, and putting Ford on the tag is one way to do it, but giving him a longer-term contract is another way to keep that cost down. And we talked about Eric, and Eric Berry, that's going to take care of itself. I don't know that you're going to see a restructure from him. At his point in his career, I doubt giving up dollars is something that any player in his position is going to want to do. That said, the same might be true for Justin Houston. But Justin Houston is another guy that I think can be productive in this defense. He is a good pass rusher. He's one of the best pass rushers in the history of this football team. And you could take Jared Allen for the time that he was here and look at his stats. You can take Tamba, obviously. You could take Neil Smith. You can put them all in there, and I'll put Justin up against all of them. The only guy that is clearly better than Justin Houston in the history of the Chiefs pass rush is Derek Thomas, and that's the way that I take it. So that said, I still feel like he can be productive. A lot of people do. I know Seth agrees with me. I know some of you do. I know other people don't, but I think it's worth, especially if you can get him to consider a restructure and get some of that money back. And I noticed in the pre-chat, you guys were talking about that some, and that's a legitimate way to go. The only question is, again, it's a guy who's 30 years old, and that's generally the point when a football player's career starts to go downhill unless you're a quarterback. And you can see the end from here is basically what it is. And I just don't know that you're going to get somebody to take a restructure, a pay cut, basically, in order to help the team. So it's a long road. Certainly there's a relationship there that can either help or hurt that kind of prospect of getting Justin Houston to take a reduction or a restructure. So we're just going to have to play it by ear. I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody inside the team that knows what they're trying to do, but I'm just saying from outside, from where I can see it, it's a tough thing too. So it's going to be interesting to see how it comes down. I think we'll start to hear little things go on depending on when that Ford tag happens, or if they sign him to a contract. When something happens with Ford, it affects Justin Houston so much because you can't wrap up too much money in one position, especially if neither of them are true 4-3 DNs. So I think that's going to be like the first domino to fall. So hold your questions. I see a lot of good ones coming in. I just can't read them fast enough, so bear with me another minute. Those are the three big ones, and I'm going to do a video about Justin Houston later this week. I tried to record it last night and had all kinds of audio problems. I was talking away and didn't get any audio in it to it. So hold on for that. Now, that is the first thing to fall. We're talking about the D-line on the podcast tomorrow, so check that out. That's also going to play a role because some of those roles have to shift around. Breland Speaks is going to play a 5 technique in the base defense, but do they feel he's good enough to rush from the outside as a primary pass rusher when they go to the nickel? I don't know. I think you saw pieces of it that might come together. This is going to be a pivotal offseason for Breland Speaks. So we'll see what comes of it. That said, I'll leave it at there. You guys got a lot of great questions, and I'll start going through them. So let's go back. Jacob, again, thank you. What up with the rumors? Kurt Thacker, the rumors about Derek Johnson being a linebacker coach. Andy Reid offered him a job. He turned it down because he feels he can still be a player in the league. And I can't blame him for that. If he feels he's got it in the tank, that's something important to him to remain a player. I think there's a job for him when he wants it. I don't know if it's going to be this season, but eventually I think it will happen. And I personally think it's a great thing to see his legacy continue. He might want to be back home in Texas. I'm sure he could get a job with a school or a franchise down there. I just don't know which. But there will be opportunities for Derek as a coach. Continuing on, do the Chiefs really feel confident Forward can play through 3? They seem to be. Every indication is that they are confident he can play in Spags' system. And that's the big thing for Spags in the last couple of weeks. Since he was hired, we haven't really heard from him. He's been in the film trying to digest what he feels the players can do for him and whether he feels they're a fit. And that's going to go a long way in determining it. The enthusiasm that Brett Veach talked about, being excited to get him back, that seems to me to be an indication that they like what they see on film and that Spags is comfortable and they feel that he is still an ascending player that they can get more production out of in this new system. Thank you for that one. I appreciate it. Mike, that was you. Nathan, if you're at 29 and Byron Murphy and Taylor Rapp, whoever you see is the best safety, Murphy's going to be a corner. I don't think he's going to move to safety. He can play corner. And both were there. Who do you draft and why? That is a very good question. I don't think Rapp is a first-round player. I like him a lot, but I think he's a second-round talent. I don't think he's a game changer. And most importantly, I don't think he can play the free safety as well as he can play up towards the box. But he's not a huge box safety build kind of guy. So that's a little problematic. Shut down corners that can play the ball don't grow on trees. And I think Murphy's one of them. I think he is worth a first-round grade. And I think if he's there, he's the clear choice of the two. Aaron, I agree with you. If Landon Collins happened to want to play for Spags again, I think that would be a great thing. Maybe him and Earl Thomas. Doug, I saw that you brought that up too. Depending on what happens with the cap, you could go after both of them. Now, Earl Thomas has ties back to Texas as well. I know the Cowboys wanted to make a run at him, but the Chiefs were trying hard to get him before the trade deadline, before he got injured. And that may play, a big part. Players appreciate when they're wanted. And the Chiefs clearly were doing a lot of things to try to get Earl Thomas. If Eric Berry's able to play, if he's back to normal and the Chiefs feel that he's going to be all in, it's kind of a novelty too. Thomas might want to play with Berry. They're the two best safeties when healthy in this league. So it's a tandem that's worth exploring. To follow that up, Aaron, you did bring up a good point. I think the Giants are probably going to tag Landon Collins, but rumors are that they're not. I don't know whether to believe those or not, but that would be my instinct, is I would think they would. Troy Skinner, why did they let the Browns give Hunt the second shot? Nobody thought the Browns would do it. The Browns went out on a big limb. 3 months is not enough time to get your act together, in my opinion. I don't think the Chiefs were going to bring him back if it was this season at all. He had a lot to prove to them. There are some broken bridges there. Lying to the franchise when you're trying to help them is a big deal. It's not just what you did, but how you did it. So, do you think the restructure of Barry and Justin, appreciate that, Alec? I think it could happen. I think if they can get one, they can make a lot of things happen. I just don't know if they're going to get both of them to take a pay cut, basically, or take cash up front for lesser cap space. Yeah, that's the big one. I personally wouldn't move on from either of them unless there's a reason they can't play. If Eric's not able to recover from this injury, and there are players that have ended their careers on Achilles injuries, sometimes lingering ones. If Eric's in that situation, then moving on and releasing him because he's not able to play does make sense. It's a huge cap hit for a guy that you can't get back on the field. That said, he played against the Patriots, played down the stretch. I still feel like he can. I think he's got to get right. I think there's still something lingering there, but if they can get it fixed. Who else? That was James Duncan. Thank you, James, for the question. You guys, if I miss them, make sure you hit me again. Would you rather? Oh, I like would you rather questions. Those are always fun. Do you think Sammy Watkins made a big enough impact to justify how much he got paid? Probably not. I think Sammy did a good job while he was in there, especially late in the season. I thought he might have had a little trouble learning the offense at first, but he got there. So I don't have a problem with what he did. I expect that if he can stay healthy, he will be a major contributor in 2019. It's always the same old story with Sammy Watkins, though. Can he stay on the field? That's going to be the big deal. And if not, you're going to see the Chiefs move on from him in 2019 if they can't get the games out of him. Because that chunk of salary has to go to Tyreek Hill because they're going to have to pay him an arm and a leg. He's going to be one of the top 3 paid receivers. He might be the highest paid receiver. So they have that room built in there. So positionally, it makes sense. We'll see if he can stay on the field or not. My opinion on Armani Watts is I liked some of the things that he did. I think it's terrible that he got injured and didn't get to play his rookie season because I felt like he could have made a lot of progress. He still doesn't tackle that great. He needs to work on that. He overcommits. Some of his angles are too shallow and he can get taken advantage of. I want to see him stay in the back and play that free safety and become that smaller roaming guy. I just don't know if he has it in him. That's how I would try to use him. We'll see what's happening. Kenny Slavens, how are you? Okay. King X Soul. Would you rather pick up a running back mid to late round or sign Tevin Coleman short term? I would take a running back UDFA or a 7th round pick. Tevin Coleman's going to get paid because he's a veteran. You don't need to sink any more money into that. I think Damian Williams is a very good back for this offense. I think you need to get a second, like kind of springy kind of guy, and you have a power guy in Darrell. You might see Spencer Ware come back. I don't know. But I don't think it's anything you want to invest a ton in because I think we've proven that this offense can be run by a lot of different styles of backs as long as they have the motivation and the explosiveness, really. That's the big thing. Thank you for that question, though. Mark Doyle, thoughts on Trey Boston? He'd be a lot cheaper. I liked Trey Boston last year. He didn't play quite as well this last season after he did get signed, but he's still a viable option. He's got free safety experience. He doesn't tackle that well, but I think it's in a desperate place that you got to get somebody with experience in there, and I think that probably is the best scenario for this team. I think he's definitely the option beyond Earl Thomas. Talked about Armani. Good question. What's K-Pass role going to be? Niche G. That's a very good question. I think he might be able to rebound in this defense again because he's going back to a 4-3 wide 9 if he's going to play behind Ford, which is my guess. He's got the body for it. He's got the length for it, and playing that wide allows him to use that stiff long arm to get around the corner. I think you might see him take a step forward. Whether the Chiefs let him or not, I don't know. They may feel that they need to get somebody more aggressive and better in there. Honestly, his first step isn't that great. And I think, especially when you look at trying to play, you got to assume you're going to play the Rams, you're going to play the Patriots. You might even see the Saints again. You got to get to the ball, the passer fast because the ball comes out so quickly. So it's about speed rush to me. Power rushers are not going to get the job done. I'd rather see them go bulk penetrators inside in guard to guard with Chris Jones and have 2 speed guys. I don't know that you need a power pass rusher in order to get the job done. So I'm going to be focused on pass rushers in the draft that are going to be speed oriented. But that's a good question, and I appreciate that. Daryl Ford, do you think the Chiefs reach the same sack total switching to the 4-3? I think they can. I remain to see how they're going to get aligned first before I can give you a good idea, though. So let's see what happens in OTAs, and I'll start thinking about it. Cool, Mars. Thanks for your buck. I appreciate that. Every buck goes a long way for me. I'm trying to get better software and everything else to give you guys some new stuff, and I am going to keep doing these lives. I'm going to try to expand what I do in the videos a little bit and do a little more creative stuff rather than just standing there talking to you. But bear with me on that. We'll try to get a little more cinematic around here, maybe. Next question. And Cool Mars, thank you for this question. Can Chiefs use Dorian O'Daniel more in 2019? Yes, he's going to be a starter in 2019. He's going to be the will linebacker. He is not going to take on blocks. He's going to be the run and chase guy. He's going to be the guy that's going to be the primary matchup on the tight end, I think, in coverage. I think they're going to let him do that because I think that's the best matchup. The only problem is the Sam usually does that when they're in the base defense. So they got to get somebody that can play a Sam. Justin Houston could, but it's a waste of his talent. I think they still need to find somebody for that. But Dorian O'Daniel is going to be on the field in the nickel. He's going to be the will linebacker in the base. I think he's going to be a 3-down player. That's my expectation. Good question, though. JJ Allison, we need somebody that can be on field general in the backfield. If you mean the running back position, I don't think so. This is Mahomes' team. This is Andy Reid's offense. He wants to pass first. I can cry about it all I want, and I will, that they don't run enough, that they don't use the fullback enough, that they don't use power enough to exert their will when they have to get stuff done. Short yardage, running the ball when they have to get rid of clock, those things they got to do, and Andy's just not going to do it. It's not the way that he coaches. It's not the offense he runs. So, no, I don't think that's a big priority for them. Next, Andy Anderson. How do you feel about KC trading up? Who is worth it? I think Greedy Williams is worth it. He is a big corner that's got speed. We're going to see what happens at the combine, but I think he's got enough speed. I think he needs a little bit more ball skills, but I think he can do it. And I think he's one of the few guys that is worth trading up. There are a couple of outside pass rushers that might be worth it too, especially if they decide that they can't get Justin Houston to restructure. Maybe that comes to a head and they decide to release Justin Houston. I hope not, but it could happen. If so, they better go get a speed rusher in the draft. A guy like Ja'Kai Polite is the guy that I started watching a couple days ago. I haven't gotten through a ton of his film, maybe 2 games, but he's quick. He's got enough size that I think he can hold up at the NFL level. Some of the other guys that are speedy, they're a little too small for my liking. So far, that's a guy that I'm looking at. Is an inside linebacker a bigger need than corner? I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because Anthony Hitchens is going home. He's from a 4-3 defense too. You're going to see Anthony Hitchens play better next season than he did this last season. And I think, and I'm a Reggie Ragland guy. I liked him coming out of school. I like what he did. But he is a specific fit for the 3-4. This is going to be a challenge for Reggie to turn over. But I'll tell you 2 things that I like about it. And that is Reggie Ragland can blitz. And Spagnuolo likes to blitz a lot. And I think, especially in run fits on first downs, Reggie Ragland can be a guy that can fill the hole for you, especially in a one-gap responsibility defense, which is what Spags is going to run. Reggie can do that on rundowns. And in pass downs, if he wants to mix it up, Spagnuolo does. And if he wants to do that, Reggie's a guy that can blitz from the linebacker level. In the A-gaps in particular. We saw him do it a couple of times. And I'm probably going to do a video on Reggie too. Just in case he does stick around, this will be why, because he can blitz. And he actually played coverage in the short zones pretty good towards the end of the season. He had a couple of picks, if you guys remember. And that's a really, really good sign for him. So I don't think it's that big. I do expect them to draft one, though. I don't think that you have enough depth, especially now that you're running 3 off-ball linebackers at least part of the time. So that's going to be important. There are a number of guys that I like. Don't get your hopes up for the kid from LSU. I can't remember which Devin it is, but he's not going to be there. But there are going to be a couple other guys that are going to be available in the second round. I think the original question, I can't remember who asked it, was, do I feel like trading up is worth it? I do for the certain player. If the corners are gone, Murphy, Williams, Baker. Baker's my third. I'm not sure. I got to watch more film on him. If they're all gone, excuse me, as well as the speed rushers, look for a trade down. I know that sounds silly, but if you trade down in the top 5 of the second round and you get an extra third, you get 5 top 100 picks. And I think that could be worth it, especially if you treat free agency as a way to fix, especially the safety level of your secondary. That's going to be key. That's a way that I think they could go, trading up and down. Oh, Kenny Slavens. Glad you mentioned Greedy Williams. I just talked about it. Good question. Byron Murphy. Yep. Daryl Ford. I am a sucker. Coach Lake is the secondary coach for the University of Washington Huskies. He does a great job. He's produced a lot of good players all the way back to, the brothers that I'm spacing on now before Marcus Peters. There's been a lot of DBs come out of Washington. That's always a school to watch. Next question. What do you think some strategic trading we could get corners like Murphy and Baker or Mullen in the draft. Yeah, like I was saying before, they can definitely get it done. That extra second round pick definitely makes them capable of moving around. Brendan Hobbs, good question. Rock Ya-Sin. At the Senior Bowl, he played well. Only problem with the Senior Bowl is it's not the elite talent of the NFL. It's not the elite talent of college because, quite honestly, most of the top flight receivers are juniors. That's just the way that it is. So I think his value is a little overinflated for most right now. I think he's going to be a late second, early third round guy, and Chiefs could definitely be in the market for him then. They could trade down out of the second there too and just get an extra pick. There's plenty of things to do, and I think he is a guy that you want to target. He's got the size. I want to see how fast he runs at the combine. Will we be compensated for losing Hunt? No. They will not be compensated for Kareem Hunt. They released him on purpose. You don't get anything for it then. Brennan, I answered it, man. Hold on. I'm trying to read, man. Who's the greatest Chief? Chris West, good question. Who's the greatest Chiefs player of all time? Derek Thomas is a good choice. That would have been one of my first go-tos as well. I'm also going to put out Bobby Bell. For my money, that's a good competition right there. Okay, who else did I miss? Good question on the man versus zone thing from Josh Aleph. When they go to it, Spags likes to play man. He wants to be aggressive. If you can play man, you can send more people. You can do more things. So he's going to play man as much as he can. But he will play zone too. What I like about him is he's talked specifically when he was with the Giants about dropping into cover 4. And the nice thing about that is you can show a cover 2 look with man under, and you can drop into a cover 4, which changes everything about where the quarterbacks have to put the ball in order to complete passes. It leads to a lot of picks, and I think that's going to be a great thing for this defense. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. I'm better, but I'm not 100% yet. Okay. Casey K. Shouldn't we trade Houston for a first or a second? He's going to make he's like 21 against the cap. Nobody's going to give you a first round pick for a $22 million contract on a 30-year-old player. You might get a third for him. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're doing now. They might be looking around to see what the market is. I really don't know. But I think holding out for a 1 or even a 2 is probably not going to happen when it comes to Justin Houston. Good questions, though. What do you think about getting younger on defense coaching staff? I like House. He's a guy that had gotten some notoriety with what he was able to do at Kentucky. He's got a good crew at Kentucky, some good players that are going to be in this draft as well. Lonnie Johnson's the big, tall, long corner. He's not quite shifty from what I've seen on film. We'll see how he runs in his short area quickness at the combine. He's maybe a 3rd-round pick, maybe a 4th-round pick for me. But a good player, and I think a guy that could play well, especially in zone. But he's got the strength to play man. So we'll see. I think they're going to get some of those players done. The Kentucky kids, I mean. Do you think we go for one of the middle linebackers in the first round? I don't. I think the LSU linebacker is probably worth a first-round grade at the middle linebacker spot. I'm not sure anybody else is. Some 2s, yeah, especially some high 2s. If the Chiefs trade back from 29 into the high second round, then maybe definitely. That would be a sweet spot for them, I think. Good question. More faves. Can Veach properly evaluate speed rushers? I disagree with the second half of your question. Because Morfave said he considered Speaks an elite edge rusher. I don't think he ever considered him elite or a speed rusher. He did consider him an edge, and he can be. He wasn't college, but he was a power 4-3 D end. He was never a speed guy. He was never gonna be. Honestly, in my scouting report coming out of college, I thought Breland Speaks was best inside at around a 4 technique, trying to be a penetrator. I think that's probably still the best thing for him. I think this may be a good thing for Breland Speaks. Do you think we could get a top 10 pick for Barry and Houston? No. Injury history, age, contract size. Never. Sorry. It's a good idea, but I don't think it'd ever happen. Aaron Morrow, good point. Brennan, I answered your Rocky Sin question. We talked about man versus zone in the 4-3. Okay, Ben Eman. That's a good question, Jared. Jared Panzer asks, what do I think about him? And I think he's a guy that's athletic. I think he understands the game. I think he's a guy that's got to work on some things. He's got to be stronger at the point of attack. He's got to be able to take on guards. Linemen beat him up in what we've seen. But he's got an instinct for the ball. I like the way he plays. And he's good depth right now. Can he evolve into a starter? I think he might. It's a good thing to have. Let's see. Chiefs first night, they might release Barry. Like I said, it's going to come down to what they think needs to happen with his injury. And then we'll know. Tom Bad 87. I think Spags has put together a pretty good defense. I like Merritt. I think he's a good coach. Obviously, Daly from the Patriots D line is now the Chiefs D line coach. That's a great get. I'm really interested to see if they're going to hire another secondary coach or if Al Harris is still on the staff. I'm a big fan of Al Harris. I love the way that he played. There's rumor about Sam Madison joining the staff. I don't know if that's going to happen. Derek Johnston, Bell's Amber. That's what I'm drinking tonight. Can you look up Tank Kelly? I haven't seen anything on him yet, Cool Mars, but I will look up Tank Kelly and let you know what I find. Okay, what else? Info on Barry. I talked about that earlier if you just joined. Defensive quality control coach is moving on. What does that mean? It means he got a job to be a position coach is all. That's pretty normal. Normally when you change over from a 3-4 to a 4-3, the whole staff is almost gone. The only guys that really stick around are usually the secondary coaches, because coaching corners and safeties is pretty much the same no matter what front you're running. So that's always a good one. Who are my sleepers in the later rounds? I don't have sleepers yet. I'm still working my way through. I don't really start film work until after the Super Bowl. I'll take a look at athleticism. That's going to have a big chunk of it. And I got to look at fit. So I'll have sleepers for you later. My draft board will be out the week before the draft. My draft guide from Rogue Analytics will be out 2 weeks before the draft. I'll have all kinds of stuff for you guys leading up to that, including sleepers by then. I like Dieter. I think he might be able to take a step forward. I think he's got enough athleticism. I think he's smart. I think he came up a couple of times and flashed what he's able to do. So look for Derek Dieter to be on this team next season. Do you like Jimmy Moorhead in the 6th round? What I saw from him, yeah. I think he can play some man. I think he's a little undersized if I remember what I saw correctly. But I will take a look at him as the process goes on as we get through the offseason. How many linebackers do we need to add? If you're talking off-ball linebackers, at least one. If you're considering the edge guys as well as linebackers still, even though they're probably more DNs, probably 2 at that point, at the very minimum. I'm excited for the front 7 as well, my call. I think that they can keep him if they choose to. Chiefs first night, who do you think will go after in free agency? I think you got to look at the secondary and maybe the defensive line. You need to get another rotational guy in there, more of a penetrator guy. It's a big changeover for the interior defensive lineman going to this new system from the old. So that's definitely a place where they're going to need to add. Josh Aliff, another good question. If Darby hits the free agency market, should the Chiefs grab him? I don't think so. Injury history, he gives up a lot of completion percentage. I just don't think that he can be any better than what you've seen at corner for them. So I'd say no. I'd skip it. Stay away from Trey Waynes. He's not going to work out, Mark. What else you guys got? Is Bieniemy staying as the offensive coach? He is the coordinator, and I believe he is staying. They made no announcement. I know he interviewed, but he's going to be on this staff next year. Khalil McKenzie, how far has he come along? I have no idea. Nobody does. They don't even let the media watch practice. They get to see warm-ups and that's it. So I've asked Matt Derrick and I've asked Nate Taylor and they don't even know, but they kept him on the 53 all season. So that's a good sign. And he is a road grader, man. I'm excited for him. If he can learn to play offense to the level that I think that he can, to get to his athleticism, he's going to just drive block for days. I think it's going to increase the run game quite a bit. So I got my fingers crossed for McKenzie. You think they need to pick up a backup quarterback in free agency? No, you got Henny and you got Litton. You're set at quarterback as far as I'm concerned. Who's not coming back this year? You think any player that would be a concern? I don't know what's going to happen with Barry and Houston. That's really going to be it. Everybody else that's on their way out has overplayed their contract. Alan Bailey, I think, is great, but he's going to get paid. I think Steven Nelson is very good, but he's going to get paid to the point that I wouldn't pay either of them what they're going to make on the open market. Hog Farmer, you must have listened to the show because I said that yesterday. You put McKenzie in the backfield as a fullback, and I'm all for it. Would you take Hollywood Brown if he falls to replace Conley? Yes, I would. I like that kid. And this is the thing. If you're going to add one thing to this offense, it's got to be a receiver that either has blazing speed down the field or is that short area quickness pivot type underneath guy like Edelman. That's the one thing that this offense is missing, in my opinion. And I think Brown out of Oklahoma is one of those guys. I just think somebody's going to take him in the upper half. Top 20 is my guess from all the hype that he's getting. If he falls into the second round, I'm sold. Sure. Adderley and Baker. I'm not sold on Adderley, KCK. I got to tell you, not 100%. His level of competition is not what you saw from everybody else. Right now, I'm leaning towards Thompson, but I've only watched a game or two of each, so I'll get back to you as the offseason goes on. J-Dub, I hope I just answered your question. He's going to get paid. Alan Bailey's not going to be a Chief. Jared Panzer, are you enjoying watching the AAF? I am. I haven't done a ton of it. I know a lot of people are taking up and becoming, this is my team. You hear all the draft guru guys talking about how they picked a team and all that. I'm not about a team in the AAF. I want to see if there's anybody worth it that can emerge from there and get on an NFL roster, somebody the Chiefs could pick up. There's a number of ex-Chiefs playing in it, so that's interesting to me. A number of guys that have had their chances and not made it. I'm not seeing anything really break out for me yet, but we'll see what happens as their season goes on. I'll definitely be watching. Lee, very good question. Being Super Bowl favorites will draw free agent talent, yes or no? Yes. Mahomes is a draw for free agent talent, especially veterans, guys like Earl Thomas that have had a taste, that understand what Super Bowls are like and understand just how important the quarterback position is. Playing with Patrick Mahomes is going to get this team free agents. I'm really interested to see just how far it goes. So, yeah, that's a huge thing. My call. How do you feel about the offensive line? I think there's a lot of guards. I think they need a swing tackle. Chris and I talked about that, or Seth and I talked about that on the Locked on Chiefs podcast yesterday. Check that one out. We went into quite a bit of detail about it. Chauncey Gardner, he's the kid with three names, right? I haven't watched his film yet. He seems a little undersized, but I did see him make a couple of plays when I was watching games live during the college season. I just got to get back to it. Martell Spate, I have nothing, Rev Dog. I haven't heard a thing. Is Veach trading for any rookie contracts that need a change of scenery? Not that I know of, but I didn't know about any of the other ones too. He's gonna do something weird. He's an aggressive guy, and I think he'll catch us off guard another time. So, J-Dub, definitely corner, in my opinion. I'd get the safety in free agency. Can you afford to keep Barry in Houston? I talked about Houston and Ford a lot earlier, so go back when this posts again. 2020 champs. Is Byron Pringle coming back? Yes. He went on IR. His rights are with the Chiefs. I haven't heard anything about how he's been progressing in terms of healing with that hamstring, but he'll be on the roster. He'll be at OTAs. He'll be in camp. I think he's got a future that's worth looking at. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here, folks. We're getting close. Appreciate it, Casey. Appreciate it, Chris. Do you think Kansas City should get rid of Daniel Sorensen? I think the one thing that's going to keep Sorensen around, I personally don't think he plays the deep safety, the coverage safety very well, but he can be a box safety. And Spags likes to blitz safeties. So I think that's one of the things that Sorensen does best. So I think you might see Sorensen be a guy that Spags wants to use. We'll see if it happens or not. You guys are doing great. I appreciate you guys and all your time. We're starting to get double questions now, so this will go back up here in a couple of minutes when I'm done. Bryce Love, I'll check him out too as well. I haven't gotten to that. Youngflow 29, how often does the podcast come on? It's daily. We're 5 days a week, about 20, 25 minutes. So there is a ton of Chiefs talk on Locked On Chiefs. We have 3 hosts. Seth from The Athletic, he used to be on Arrowhead Pride, Chris at Chiefs Digest, and me. And we go round and round and round. We cover it all. Maple or hickory smoked bacon? Hog Farmer, hickory. Any plans for RGR merchandise? I have it all out, Jared. There'll be a card up here later. There'll be links in there. You can get to the store. I got all kinds of stuff up there. And they make it when you order it. So not a problem. Casey K, good question about Flacco in Denver. I think it got the Chiefs 2 more wins every season. Second round receiver could be good. Yeah, especially if Brown falls. Chief Daddy, appreciate that about the podcast. I don't know if you're going to make a trade before free agency, so we'll see. J-Dub, thanks for your time. Yeah, Aaron, I hope you like that. Seth used to do his own podcast, so now he's taking the mailbag for us once a week. It lets us all have a little bit easier time in the off season, so it'll be great. Thank you guys for spending all the time. I really appreciate it. And check out everybody. And insurance. Sean said a polo shirt. Yeah, well, I'll get working on that too. Thank you all for your time. Spread the word. I'm going to do this all off season. So let's keep it growing and bring more people into it. It's going to be a great season in 2019. I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks for all of your time. Next Monday, I'll be live and I'll have a video for you later this week. Talk to you then.